my name is Malini and today I am so very excited to show you how to make some Sri Lankan shorties. So these are very similar to what you would know as canapes, antipasti, hors d'oeuvres or even amuse-bouche. But in Sri Lanka we call it shorties, and these are cutlets, patties, rolls, lamb rotis and even some tarts made from mango and prawns. So these are delicious. So if you were to go to a restaurant or a hotel in Sri Lanka and you order high tea, it's very similar to what they would serve you. So without further ado, let's start. How easy was that? So it just took a fraction of a minute to cut that whole load of onions, about 15 or 20 large onions. So it's just a cup of oil there, and considering the amount of onions that I'm going to fry, considering the number of shorties I'm going to make, that oil I poured in there is really not a lot at all, and you will see why I say that. To that I will also add about a tablespoon and a half of ginger and about 2.5 tablespoons of garlic, and let it fry. So I'll see you in 20 minutes. Always when you cut spring onions, always cut it lengthways and just hold it under the tap. In case there's some trapped sand or soil, you have to wash it away. Almost everybody knows where Sri Lanka is, and for those of you who don't know, Sri Lanka is a tropical island and its cuisine is shaped by many historical and cultural factors, and is known for its use of a vast array of herbs, spices, fish, vegetables and fruit even. And today I'm using fruit from a tin, like such, mangoes from a tin. And I'm going to be using some lamb and some minced turkey and some beef. The reason I'm using minced meat is because I want to try and get all the spices that I'm going to use be absolutely infused into the meats, because these are tiny shorties and you want it to be decadent within itself. How many of you know of the Silk Route? Silk Route is what connected all the traders in the 18th century to come from China to the Southeast Asia, the Indonesian archipelago and the Indian subcontinent, the Arabian Peninsula, and all the way to Egypt and finally to Europe where we are. And the cultural influences that these traders would have brought over to Sri Lanka is what shaped its cuisine today. So just like they would have done in the 18th century, I'm going to be using a lot of herbs and spices, and of course the essential Sri Lankan most famous coconut oil, which is actually a ubiquitous oil in Sri Lanka, so commonly found and used by almost every single household. Of the 5 shorties that I'm going to make today, I'm going to start with patties and the lamb roti. So the patties is going to have the base, which is going to be potatoes, and then some of these fried onions and all the herbs. Patties are these really small, lovely morsels of deliciousness, which is short crust pastry filled with vegetables, meat or vegetables and fish. An essential base ingredient is potatoes and then the garlic and onions. So without further ado, let's start. So for these patties that I'm making, I'm going to make the base first. So I'm taking 2 of these spoons of onions, putting them into each of these pans that are on the hob. It's very hot. And to this, I'm going to add some aromatic spices. So I'm going to put about a tablespoon of pepper, because it's 750 grams of minced meat. A tablespoon and a half of pepper. And likewise, I'm going to put about 3/4 of a tablespoon of salt. And I'm going to now pop this in with the onions. So this goes in the larger pan, 750 grams of meat in there. So I'm going to make some turkey patties. In Sri Lanka we would make chicken, but here I have turkey because it's difficult to find minced chicken. So I got minced turkey, I have the minced beef. Now I'm going to cook this through for about 15 to 20 minutes, because the second half of the cooking is actually going to happen in the oven. And what I think would be really lovely with Sri Lankan food always is chili. So you could have these red dried chilies, which has a nice, very addictive flavor to it. And also you can use some green chilies like I have here, which has a completely different kind of almost a raw, like a vegetation kind of flavor. So I'm going to chop this very, very finely. And when I add it, I'm going to think, am I going to add the seeds, which is going to be even better, or am I just going to leave the seeds out? Because it's dried chilies, if you can look here, you'll see that when I lift the chilies, the seeds remain on the board. So I can choose to put the seeds in or to leave them out. I can already taste the chili. Chili is so strangely hot, as you would know, but it's also so strangely addictive. So once you start eating chili, your mind is going to, your taste buds are going to send signals to your mind saying, I need more. It's very, very addictive. So some of this is going to go in our patties and make it absolutely, absolutely addictive. Not least to say that patties is going to be luscious just by itself. So here we are. So I've also chopped some spring onions here, which I will not cook, but I will just add it to the patties just before putting them in the oven. Some of the patties I'm going to fry, shallow fry on a pan, and some of them I'm going to egg wash and put it in the oven. So the shallow frying one is typically the Sri Lankan way of making, but if you egg wash it and put it in the oven, that would be sort of slightly lighter, so it's a skinny patties, and the other one would be the more flavoursome, the naughty variety that's deep fried or shallow fried in this case. None of us in our house are used to eating chilies. We eat very little chili, if that. So hence the reason I'm chopping it so finely, so that when it gets mixed in with the turkey meat, the minced turkey, it's going to melt and disappear, and it's not going to stay whole in one place and create this burst of chili heat in the mouth. So this way it's going to be quite tolerable. So here you can see the turkey meat, which is now cooked. It's been cooking for about 10 minutes now. So I'm just going to turn it over. See, it's becoming lovely and golden brown from being kind of pale white and boring. So now it's a time to add some salt. So I'm putting about half a tablespoon of salt. That should be enough, because I'm going to add all the other stuff to it now. So I'm adding some of the green chilies that I chopped just now. So just a little bit going in there, not too much. And I'll stir it. I have to break up these pieces. It is minced meat and it's just clumped up while cooking, so I'm just going to break it up like so. And then I'm going to add a tiny bit of curry paste, just to bring it that authentic Sri Lankan flavor. So I'm using tikka masala paste. This has the cumin, coriander, a bit of chili, and most importantly the fennel and a tiny bit of turmeric. So now it looks, I'm going to taste it to see if salt is good. And at this point you can decide if you want to add a bit more onions from the fried onion stock that you have, or if you want to just leave it as it is. What we can do here in the UK, but we don't usually do in Sri Lanka, is that we can add some grated cheese or cream cheese to give it that depth of creamy, more rounded flavor. And here I have some cream cheese. I'm going to turn the heat off. These cream cheese are very inexpensive because you can use it in cooking. You're not going to spread it. This is one that's used on your toast, but you can use it for cooking. So I'm putting about, because of that quantity of turkey, I'm putting about 3/4 of this packet. So I'm going to tell you the measurement in a second. 200 grams. So I put about 180 grams of cream cheese in there, and that'll give it that lovely creamy texture to the patties. There, now that is ready. I'm going to just very shortly taste it for, once I've mixed it through thoroughly, I'm going to taste it for salt, because now is the time to add the salt or any chili or anything else that you want to add before you make your pastries or patties. Just going to take a tiny bit. The chili is coming through. The heat is fine. I'm going to put a little bit of tomato puree. So this patties filling is almost ready. It's almost there. It has a sweetness of this caramelized onions. It has the salt, the heat from the green chilies, garlic, ginger, and all of those lovely things. So now I've added some tomato paste. Once I've added it, mixed it through, I'm just going to taste it to see. Maybe I want to just cook the tomato paste through. Once I've done that, this patties filling is absolutely ready. One more bit of tasting. Delicious. Ready. Now I'm going to show you how to roll out the pastries and make the filling and fill them. So now I'm doing the mincemeat, the filling for the remainder of our patties. So this is what the mincemeat looks like. It's got lots of pepper, salt, caramelized onions, garlic, ginger, and now to this I shall add the chopped spring onions. First of all, I'm going to add a bit of red chilies. So I'm going to just finely chop it one more time, because I worry that somebody's going to get a bite of a large piece of chili and they're going to feel like they're going to be sent through the roof. So chopping it finely, adding a tiny bit, look, it looks like little rubies scattered all over the beef here. And then I will also add some chopped spring onions and some tomato paste, about a tablespoon and a half of tomato paste, a handful of spring onions, and about a tablespoon of very finely chopped red onions. Now, beef and butter are great friends. So instead of butter, what I shall do is, so beef and butter are great friends. So instead of butter, I'm going to put some buttery cheese into it. I'm just going to use a vegetable peeler to peel it into there, because the cheese is going to melt and beautifully combine with all the beef. So Sri Lanka is not big on cheese, and if you were to make cutlets or patties in this case in Sri Lanka, you wouldn't be putting any cheese in there, but here you can afford to do that because cheese is amply available and you use it every day in your other dishes like pasta and risottos and stuff like that. So here I have peeled a block of cheese into our beef. Just a few bits more to go. Let me just turn this so it mixes through. What you can't really experience is the smell. It's the fragrance from all of these lovely things that are gone in this beef patty mix. So that's the last of it going in there. Like so. Mix it through thoroughly, and you can see the cheese is very slowly melting and it's combined with the beef. The beef was just 10% fat, so putting the cheese in there hasn't made it bad, it's just made it delicious. And now that's ready to be filled into our patties. So now finally to our two patties mixtures, patties fillings. What's going in is potatoes. So when you weren't filming, I had boiled a bag of potatoes just peel them, quartered them and boil them. So here I'm going to put about, I'd say about 4 boiled potatoes into the beef, like so. And I'm going to mix it. I'm not going to entirely mash it because I do want it to have a bit of texture. So I'm going to palm mash it or semi-mash it, like so. So we have a mixture of like a bite-sized potato pieces in there. So that is done, like so. There. This will, if nothing else, it will definitely give you some strong muscles in your biceps. So that's mixed together. And then you do the same with the turkey mince. Because in every Sri Lankan patties or cutlets, the base is, as much as onions and garlic are base, so are these potatoes. I think they would have started using these in the olden ages just to bulk up the food. So nowadays, if you didn't want to use potatoes and you wanted to be less carb, you can leave the potatoes out. But because I'm making a traditionally Sri Lankan patties, I don't want to leave out the potatoes. I want to do it justice and put everything that the essential ingredients would have been. So there. So I've got my rolling pin ready. I've just dusted the table with some flour, some plain flour, and I've got some shop bought pastry. This one is short crust pastry and it just comes in a packet like that. You can buy it frozen or in the refrigeration section of your supermarket. So first, try and get as much flour as you can so it doesn't stick to your rolling pin, and then just use your muscles and roll it out flat to about 1/4 centimeter thick. And then if you are like us Sri Lankans who don't drink much wines or spirits, what better way to put your
glassware?
What glass is this?
I would say martini.
Okay, we need to cut. If like us Sri Lankans, you don't drink much wines or spirits, what better way to put your wine glass to work than cut out round shapes? That's my rather expensive crystal champagne glass. Or okay, so here I rolled up the pastry, but I think I might want it a little bit thinner. So this one's a little bit too thick because it's the same sort of thickness as if we were making Cornish pasties. So I need to be able to cut quite a few circles with this, using this. Always make sure that your surface is floured, because the last thing you want is you roll it out to a desired thickness and you're trying to lift it off the table and it's absolutely stuck. Right, just this little hole and just patch it. Right, okay, yeah, so you can see it's about a lot less than a 1/4 centimeter, so it's about 1/8 centimeter thick. So let's roll it out a bit more, because I'm going to put these in the oven shortly. So we cut out the shapes, like so. Once you've rolled this out and you've cut your round shapes, and when you're left with the outside, the what do you call it, the stencil part of it, you bring it out back into a bowl and you roll it out using, making sure you use this flour to flour the surface and the rolling pin, and then you can keep on making it into a ball, roll it and try and get the last patties pastry for your amazing filling to fit into. So if I can get one more out of this oven, jolly happy. There. I think I just about managed it. So there we go. So next you're going to see me arrange them all in a baking tray, ready to go in the oven. Saw me do just now is on the parchment paper that I laid on these oven trays, I actually just dabbed some oil using a brush, because sometimes you can buy parchment paper which is not non-stick, and therefore your pastry will stick to the parchment paper and be difficult to take them out. So what I've done to this one is I've just put some oil so you can ease your pastry out of it once it's cooked. And then I've laid our round shaped pastry, shortcut pastry that we made onto these trays, and now using 2 spoons like so, I'm just spooning in the beef mixture for our lovely beef patties. Don't worry if some of the patties has a large piece of potato, it all adds to the flavour. The wholesome patties. So you've done that, and then take one end and fold it over like so. Do that to all of them. So these little luscious little patties. Oops, that potato might be too big, so I've just taken a tiny bit out. Will all be beautifully encasing these amazing flavors. If you didn't have short crust pastry and you made your own pastry, to stick these together you may want to put some water, but in this case the short crust pastry will automatically stick together like so. And then I shall take fork and very beautifully crimp the edges. This you have to do it neatly so that your patties will look pretty when it comes out of the oven, and then lay them diagonally so they have space to cook. And then some egg. Just beat 1 egg, a pinch of salt, and a drop of water. Just absolutely a drop of water. And then you egg wash it. So I've done 1, and I've only got about 24 to go, or 23 to go. Time to start your oven. So if it's fan assisted, 160, and you bake them for 20 minutes. If it's not fan assisted, it's 180 for 20 minutes. So I'm going to wait for the oven to heat for a minute, and then in the meantime I shall start filling my turkey patties. Move this across and start doing these ones. This rather delicious morsels of goodness called patties are ready to go in the oven. So they will bake away for 20 minutes, and I'll see you in 20 minutes. Now our patties are coming out of the oven. It's had its 20 minutes. Lovely. Beautiful. So if you enjoyed watching me make all of these shorties, I would suggest that you could make it for your friends or your family. They will love you for it and you can impress them. But most of all, if I can still request you to donate to the NHS. The pandemic is still there and we shouldn't forget what happened 6 months ago. So please donate. £1 is fine. Give as much as you can. Give what you can. Or if you're watching this video from a different part of the world, please do some research to see who the frontline workers have been, who have been helping throughout the pandemic, and please donate. Thank you very much for watching and see you soon. Bye bye.